So, good day students. This is Ray and our subject for this time is Mathematics 7 and our topic is multiplying and dividing integers. So, in this video, I will discuss the process on how to multiply and divide integers using rules. So, in multiplying and dividing integers, we use different rules. So, let's start. So, let's discuss first multiplying integers, but before that, let's define multiplication first. So, we learned that with whole numbers, multiplication is repeated addition. For example, 4 times 3 means 3 groups of 4. So, or putting into a real context, suppose we have 3 cars and each cars has 4 passengers each. So, how many passengers in all? So, thus, uh, to get the total number of passengers, you need to multiply the number of cars by the number of passengers. So, thus, 4 times 3, based from the definition, multiplication is repeated addition. So, you need to add, when you say 4 times 3, you need to add 4 3 times, which is 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals 12. So, next, let's have another situation. Suppose we have 4 cars with 3 passengers naman. So, binaliktad. Uh, in counting the total number of passengers, so the equation is 3 times 4 is equal to 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, which is equal to 12 also. So, kung mapapansin natin, we change the order of the given or the multiplicand and multiplier, but the product doesn't change. In this equation, the product is 12, and in this equation, the product is 12 also. Next, we can say then that, yan, 4 times 3 is equal to 3 times 4. That is a property of multiplication. Changing the order of the given doesn't affect the product. And 4 times 3 is equal to 3 times 4, which is equal to 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, which is equal to 12. Now, we extend this definition to multiplication of a negative integers by a positive integers. In previous video, we define integers as a set of natural number, the negative of that natural number, including 0. I will repeat, integers are the set of natural number, including the negative of that natural number and including 0. Now, so we have another situation here. Suppose a boy, so let's name this boy as Ayan. Suppose Ayan loses 6 pesos for 3 consecutive days. So nawalan siya ng 6 na piso sa loob ng 3 sunod-sunod na araw. How many, how much does Ayan loses for these 3 consecutive days? That is, putting in mathematical expression, negative 6 times 3. Why negative 6? Because the word is losses. You need to minus that or subtract that to the total money of Ayan. So, negative 6 times 3, based from the previous slide, negative 6 times 3, you need to add negative 6 how many times? 3 times. That is negative 6 plus negative 6 plus negative 6. So, how to add integers with common sign? Because this 3 has common sign. Add uh, positive equivalent, then copy their common sign. 6 plus 6, 12 plus 6, 18. And what is the common sign? Negative. So, negative 6 times 3 is equal to negative 18. That is on how to multiply positive and negative integers. But we have rules. So we need to discuss these rules because this is very important. So rules and multiplying integers. So the rule number 1 in multiplying integers is In multiplying integers, find the product of their positive equivalents. If the integers have the same sign, their product is positive. Take note of this, ha? If the integers have the same sign, their product is negative. Now, the second rule, in multiplying integers, find the product of their positive equivalents, and if the integers have different sign, their product is negative. Take note of this. If the integers have different sign, their product is negative. Next. So, let's discuss or have an example for rule number 1. What is rule number 1? That is rule number 1. In multiplying integers, find the product of their positive positive equivalent. If the integers have the same signs, their product is positive. Example. So, let's have an example. Let's have a lot of example for this rule. Suppose you are tasked to find the product of 2 and 20. So, what is the first step? Multiply the positive equivalent. Disregards the sign. No? The first step is to multiply the positive equivalent or disregards the sign. Just multiply the number. So, get the product of 2 and 20. That is 2 times 20 is equal to 40. Next. Now, the second step is look for the sign. So, what is the sign of 2? That is positive. How about 20? What is the sign of 20? That is also positive. Now, since they have common sign, the sign of the product is positive also. Hence, 2 times 20 is equal to 40. Let's have another example. Suppose you are tasked to find the product of negative 6 and negative 5. First step, disregards the sign, just multiply the number. Get the product of 6 and 5. 6 times 5 is equal to 30. Now, since they have common sign, the sign of the product is positive. Bakit common sign? Because the product of 6 is negative, the product of 5 is negative. We need to follow rule number 1. If the sign or if the given has common sign, the product is always positive. Therefore, or hence, negative 6 times negative 5 is equal to positive 30. So, let's have another example for rule number 1. Find the product of 7 and 4. What is the first step? Disregards the number, disregards the sign, just multiply the number. That is 7 times 4, which is equal to 28. Second step, look for the sign. What is the sign of 7? That is positive. What is the sign of 4? Also positive. Therefore, since they have common sign, the sign of the product is positive also. Hence, 7 times 4 is positive 28. Now, let's have another example for rule number 1. Find the product of negative 8 and negative 4. First step, disregards the sign, just multiply the number. That is 8 times 4. So, 8 times 4 is equal to 32. Since they have common sign, the sign of the product is positive. Since they have common sign, the sign of the product is positive. Hence, negative 8 times negative 4 is equal to 32. Bakit 32? Naging positive 32 because we follow first rule in multiplying integers. If the integers have common sign, their product is always positive. Next, rule number 2. What is rule number 2? In multiplying integers, find the product of their positive equivalents. If the integers have different sign, their product is negative. So, let's have an example for this rule. Example number 1. Suppose you are tasked to find the product of negative 6 and 2. Disregards the sign, just multiply the number. 6 times 2 is equal to 12. Second step, look for the sign. What is the sign of the first given? That is negative. What is the sign of the second given? That is positive. Since they have different sign, the sign of the product is negative. Hence, negative 6 times 2 is equal to negative 12. So, let's have another example for rule number 2. Suppose you are tasked to find the product of negative 4 and positive 5. What is the first step? Just multiply the number and disregards the sign. Huwag mo munang pakialaman yung sign, yung number lang ang i-multiply. Get the product of 4 and 5, that is 4 times 5 which is equal to 20. Next step, tingnan mo yung sign. Since they have different sign, the sign of the product is negative. Bakit different sign? Because the sign of the first given is negative, and the sign of the second given is positive. Therefore, or since, or hence, negative 4 times 5 is equal to negative 20. Next example. Find the product of 4 and find the product of positive 7 and negative 4. So, disregards the sign, just multiply the number. That is 7 times 4, which is equal to 28. So, since they have different sign, the sign of the product is negative. Hence, 7 times negative 4 is equal to negative 28. So, next example. Find the product of 8 and negative 2. Disregards the sign, just multiply the number. That is 8 times 2 is equal to 16. Then, tingnan natin yung sign kung magkaparehas. Magkaparehas ba? No, they have different sign. So, we need to follow rule number 2. So, the product is always negative. So, hence, 8 times negative 2 is equal to negative 16. So, that is the second rule for multiplication of integers. So, take note of this. We know that any whole number multiplied by 0 is, the answer is 0. So, we have a question. Is this true for any integers as well? The answer is yes. Why? Because, in fact, any number multiplied by 0, the result is 0. That is, this is known as the zero property of multiplication. Any number multiplied by 0 is the result is equal to 0. Hence, 6 times 0 is equal to 0 and negative 6 times 0 is equal to 0. Maybe you are asking what is the sign of 0. So, 0 doesn't contain any sign because 0 is neutral. Hindi siya negative, hindi siya positive, nasa gitna siya ng negative and positive numbers. So, neutral siya, neutral. So, wala siyang sign. Now, let's proceed to the division of integers. But first, let us define division. Now, we have learned that subtraction is the inverse operation of addition. In the same manner, division is the inverse operation of multiplication. Ibig sabihin, ang division, kabaliktaran siya ng multiplication. Next, let's have an example here. Suppose you are tasked to find the quotient of negative 51 and negative 3. Since division is the inverse of multiplication, we need to determine what number multiplied to negative 3 to produce negative 51. That is, if we ignore the sign, disregards the sign, 3 times 17 is 51. Now, based from the previous slides, we also know that in order to get negative product, we also know that in order to get a negative product, the factors or the given must have different sign. So the factors or the given must have different sign. Hence, negative 3 times 17 is equal to negative 51. Therefore, negative 51 divided by 3 is equal to 17. That is just an example of, negative 51 divided by negative 3 is equal to 17. That is on how to divide integers. But we need, we have also, we need also to follow a rule. So we need to discuss the rules in dividing integers. So let's discuss rules in dividing integers. In dividing integers, find the quotient of their positive equivalents. If the integers have the same signs, their quotient is positive. That is the first rule in dividing integers. So, same lang sila ng multiplication, ha? Same lang yung rules ng dividing is same with the rule of multiplication. So, the second rule in dividing integers. In dividing integers, find the quotient of their positive equivalents. If the integers have different sign, their quotient is negative. So, let's have an example for rule number 1. What is rule number 1? In dividing integers, find the quotient of their positive equivalent. If the integers have the same sign, their quotient is positive. Examples. Divide 21 by 7. Disregards the sign, just divide the number. So, get the quotient of 21 and 7. 21 divided by 7 is equal to 3. Then, look for the sign. What is the sign of 21? Positive. What is the sign of 7? Also positive. Therefore, since they have common sign, the sign of the quotient is also positive. Hence, 21 divided by 7 is equal to positive 3. Now, let's have another example. Suppose you are tasked to divide negative 30 by negative 5. What is the first step? Divide the number, disregards the sign. So, get the quotient of 30 and 5. That is 30 divided by 5, which is equal to 6. Since they have common sign, which is negative, they contain both negative sign. The sign of the quotient is positive. Basta same sign ng given, the quotient is positive. Hence, negative 30 divided by negative 5 is equal to positive 6. So, let's have another example for rule number 1 in dividing integers. Divide 100 by 10. Disregards the sign, just divide the number. 10 divided by 100 divided by 10 is equal to 10. Since they have common sign, the sign of the quotient is positive. What is the common sign? Positive. Positive 100 divided by positive 10. The result is positive 10 also. Next example. Divide negative 49 by negative 7. First step, divide the number, disregard the sign. 49 divided by 7 is equal to 7. Since they have common sign, which is negative, the sign of the quotient is positive. Hence, 49 divided by, that is negative 49 divided by negative 7, typographical error po. Negative 49 divided by negative 7 is equal to positive 7. So, let's proceed to rule number 2. In dividing integers, find the quotient of their positive equivalents. If the integers have different sign, their quotient is negative. So, let's have an example for that. First example, divide negative 33 by 11. Just divide the number, disregard the sign. So, 33 divided by 11 is equal to 3. Next step, look for the sign. What is the sign? Look if the given contains same sign. May same sign ba yung given? The answer is no, because the first given contain negative sign and the second given contain positive sign. Therefore, we need to follow rule number 2. Since they have different sign, the sign of the quotient is negative. Hence, negative 33 divided by 11 is equal to negative 3. Because they contain different sign. Example number 2 for rule number 2 in dividing integers. Divide 25 by negative 5. So, first step, divide the number, disregards the sign. Get the quotient of 25 and 5. That is 25 divided by 5, which is equal to 5. Next, since they have different sign, the sign of the quotient is negative. Hence, 25 divided by negative 5 is equal to negative 5. The quotient is negative because the integers contain different sign. Last example for rule number 2. Divide 39 by negative 3. So, get the quotient of 39 and 3. That is 39 divided by 3, which is equal to 13. And look for the sign. What is the sign of the first given? Positive. What is the sign of the second given? Negative. Because or since they contain or since they have different sign, the sign of the quotient is negative. Hence, 39 divided by negative 3 is equal to negative 13. Naulit lang siya. Note. Take note of this When several operations have to be performed, the GEMDAS rules applies. So, what is the meaning of GEMDAS? The G represent grouping symbols. So, I repeat, G represent or means grouping symbols. E represent exponent. M represent multiplication. D represent division. A represent addition. And S represent subtraction. So, let's have an example for this. Because sometimes the given is not just 2, not just 3, but more than 3, maybe 4, maybe 5, maybe 6. So, if the case is just like that, we need to apply GEMDAS rule. So, how to apply GEMDAS rule? Suppose we have 2 minus 3 times negative 4. Solution. 2 times 3, 2 minus 3 times negative 4 is equal to 2 minus negative 12. Bakit naging ganyan na siya? Nawala yung negative 4, tapos naging minus 12. Because, based from the rule, we need to follow this GEMDAS. Anong operation sa given natin? Subtraction and multiplication. Subtraction and multiplication. So, anong nauna? S or M? Nauna yung M, so we need to multiply first. Mamaya na yung subtraction, multiplication first. So, we need to multiply 3 times negative 4. So, what is the sign of 3? That is positive because this sign do not represent negative sign. This sign represent minus sign. So, the sign of 3 is positive. So, what is the sign of 4? Negative. They contain different sign. Therefore, their product is negative. That's why positive 3 times negative 4 is equal to negative 12. Yan, nandyan yung minus sign. Next. This term or this expression, 2 minus negative 12 will become 2 plus 12. Why? Because how to subtract integers? The rules in subtracting integers is always change the sign of the subtrahend. Ano yung subtrahend dito sa dalawa? That is negative 12. So, what is the sign of negative 12? That is negative. So, it will become positive. Then, proceed to the rule of addition. So, thus, 12 plus, 2 plus 12 is equal to 14. Therefore, 2 minus 3 times negative 4 is equal to 14. Next. 4 times 5 plus 72 divided by negative 6. So, we have how many given? We have 4 givens. So, let's have a solution. So, 4 times 5 plus 72 divided by negative 6 is equal to 20 minus 12. So, look for the operation first. Ano mga operation dito? Mayroong multiplication, mayroong addition, mayroong division. So, anong nauna? Multiplication, addition, division. That is multiplication. So, you need to multiply first. 4 times 5. That is 20. What is the sign? Positive because the sign of 4 is positive. The sign of 5 is positive. Therefore, the product is positive because they contain same sign. Next, division. Anong nauna? D or A? Nauna ang D. So, you need to divide first. That is 72 divided by 6. That is 12. Bakit negative 12? Because the integers contain Bakit negative 12? Because the integers contain different sign. The sign of 72 is positive. The sign of 6 is negative. So their quotient is negative 12. So there, next. So 20 plus negative 12 is 8. Why? In adding unlike sign, because they contain unlike sign or different sign, subtract their absolute value or subtract their positive equivalent. So 20 minus 12, that is 8, and copy the sign of the number containing higher value, which is 20. What is the sign of 20? Positive. That's why the result is 8. That is on how to perform several operations using GEMDAS rule. So, summary. Rules in multiplying integers. In multiplying integers, find the product of their positive equivalents. If the integers have the same sign, their product is positive. Same sign, positive. Second rule for multiplication. If in multiplying integers, find the product of their positive equivalents. If the integers have different sign, their product is negative. Different sign, negative. Next, let's proceed to rules in dividing integers. In dividing integers, find the quotient of their positive equivalent. If the integers have the same sign, their quotient is positive. Same sign, positive. Next, in dividing integers, find the quotient of their positive equivalent. If the integers have different sign, their quotient is negative. So that is on how to multiply and divide integers. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you learn from this video. Thank you so much.